everybody. It has been, I'm pretty sure, well over a week since I did a video for this channel and for my other social groups. And I just thought, because it is a Monday morning, it is August 24th, it's a good time to maybe just do a quick check-in and let you guys know what's going on. And with that, let's see if there's a message in there for you guys as well. So, you know, definitely for the last 8-9 days, maybe, I have been integrating a ton of information, a ton of new, not just information, but just straight on wisdom. And so I want to talk a little bit about that first, so you guys understand what I'm even talking about. So when we have knowledge, when we have information come in, that's knowledge, it sits up here, okay? We often like to process it. We have to rationalize. We've got to make sense of the information, try to figure it out. That's kind of like our human thing. And our brain is essentially a computer. And so we're there processing, right? That's where data is. This is information. This is knowledge, right? Data, facts, things that you're studying, right? When the knowledge has truth in it, or what we would call wisdom, it is because it goes through a process of integrating from here to here. So it moves from the head space down into the heart space. When it moves in and integrates in the heart space is when it becomes wisdom. And to me, the way I describe that is information or knowledge that is so truthful, so resonant with who you are, that it becomes a part of you. You know, knowledge sometimes is something that you can forget. So, I mean, I'm doing a lot of that lately, because the more that's shifting around us, the more that I'm working through and processing, moving up and into, some of my information is going away. So I feel like, you know, this whole slippery time space that we're in right now, I'm losing track of time and days and when it is. And sometimes that information's not sticking for very long because I'm moving more into my multidimensionality. And as I'm adjusting to my multidimensionality, I am losing some things that are relatively trivial, right? And so, and it's just because it's a lot of stuff going on up in there, and it's hard to retain all of it and work and do your self-healing work, and plus, all the things. So that wisdom becomes something, once it's in your heart space, it becomes that living, breathing truth that resonates throughout you. That's not something that you forget. It becomes part of who you are, and then it becomes something that you're drawing off of all of the time. So for an example, if you study something, let's just say there's a practice that you study, and you start working with that practice, and maybe you had to learn it, maybe you went through a process of training, because at the time it wasn't something that you remembered as something that you could do, or that it was even possible. And then as you start working with that practice and you're opening and growing and doing more, as it becomes more in your wisdom space, in your heart space, then you'll notice that some of that becomes not just what we would call secondhand nature. It's just there. It's as easy as breathing. But then you watch yourself starting to evolve that practice, right? You start doing things and adding things to it because you're listening to your heart, and the wisdom of that truth is allowing you to do more with that thing that you just learned. I'm getting way off topic from where I thought I was going. So integrating all the wisdom. And so with the integration of the wisdom in the last week for me, and there's so much of it that I got to the point on Saturday, like Friday was such a big day, like every day last week was a big day. And then by Saturday afternoon, I just was kind of going into what I kind of call my breakdown mode. It's like a forced rest, because I wasn't integrating the information and the knowledge between each of the big downloads I was getting. And with, you're going to need space to do that. So anytime you're integrating something, whether you're aware of it or not, if you're feeling tired or you feel like there's There's so much information happening. There's so much changing in the world around you. There's so much changing inside of you. We have to take time to integrate. It takes time to rest. Our physical bodies have to catch up. And we also need time for those downloads between the knowledge and the intellect to fully drop into our heart space, and for us to be, yes, I'm aware of this. This is good. This is honest. This is truth. This is part of me. This is who I am. So we have to incorporate rest. We have to incorporate time in nature for that to happen appropriately. And for me, I get to the point that I can't speak with other people. For somebody who always has words start to elude me, and I need to not be chatty. And it's like, sorry, one straight hair on my face, right? The people start getting chatty, and it's the one time I have to dip out. I can't do it. And so because of that, that's how I knew I had crossed my threshold of not spending the right amount of time. So for the last day and a half, I've been in that mode of not really talking and just trying to sit with myself and to learn and to listen. Now with that, I have so much information and wisdom coming, but I really feel like what I've been learning and what's been dropping in for the last week, I really have got to spend some time with, because I can't just throw that at you. It's going to require some structured teaching, which I plan on bringing forward in the next couple of weeks. But in short, what I want to share with you, kind of this overarching theme of the last week, not just about integration, that when you're going through major transformations, which we all are doing right now, we're all in states of evolution. Again, whether you're aware of it or not. Now, most of you that know me or that follow me or that work with me as a client are already into your awakening at some measure. If you've tripped across this video and you're like, hey, what's an awakening? Well, we probably need to do a little bit of pre-work on that. So even if you're not in a quote-unquote awakened state, or in your early days and you're just trying to figure out what's going on, and you're waking up to the fact that there's so much more happening than what you thought was happening, and that we really are just, in the midst of a lot of systems and institutions and programs falling away. That's what's happening right now in the world. But in that space, whether you're receiving information, whether you're integrating information, whether it's simply upgrades and downloads and all of the energetic things that are hitting us all at a planet level right now, you need to take time to sit with it, to acknowledge it, to listen to it. If it's information of something that most of the information coming in is triggering us, which is kind of step 2 when we do the self-healing place. So most of it is triggering different parts of our stored information in our bodies, and it's asking us to deal with it. So what do I mean by that? In the self-healing process, which you are the only person responsible for your own healing, just like you're the only person responsible for your own happiness, your own misery, you get to make it because you create your own world. The density, the energy that we're moving through right now is forcing low vibration and heavy density to have to leave. It can't exist in the vibrational plane, the dimensional vibrational plane that we're in and that we're moving to. So all of us are being forced, in essence, to deal with our dense places. That's our stored trauma. It's old programs, old patterns and behaviors. It's long-running family ancestral programs that we have seen, generational patterns passed down that we're repeating. All of that stuff has to let go in order for us to continue to evolve and move forward. And so energetically, all of that density, the dense stuff, and that's the stuff that you're often noticing during integration, or it's just popping up randomly in the middle of the day, and you're like, I kind of dealt with that thing a few years ago. Why in the world is it coming back? Because you're storing it somewhere else in your body. There's a root attached to it, and that stuff has to get cleared out in the process of self-healing and the state of evolution that we're in. Acknowledging these things as they come up, looking at them, have a conversation with it if you need to. That's one thing I really recommend if you want to get to the root of something. Start having a conversation with the denser parts of yourself, asking the why questions. And as you get to that place, are able to acknowledge a purpose that it held or a lesson that it was giving, you can then give that respect for what it the exchange that took place, the lesson that you learned, the thing that it gave. Give it respect, and then give it gratitude and honor it for the work that it did in your life. And then from there, you release it, you let it go, and you just fill that back with the frequency of love and light, okay? And now for a lot of you, that may be like, well, that's some bullshit, because who wants to honor and respect the dark parts of ourselves, like that pain and that trauma? But if I can pose another view for you, we all have trauma at all levels. It's occurring all the time. But if you look at that for what did it give you, in many cases, our pain, our traumas have led to a place where we are able to recognize truth. Often it's the truth that's leading us back to knowing that we deserve more than we're allowing ourselves, that we are worthy, that we are loved, that we are accepted, that we do belong, that we're part of the greater good. Even though the external world around us tells us a different story, it's because you were unaware and that story was happening around you. Once you begin to shift that into your place of alignment and value and worth, your external world shifts as well. Okay? So sit, honor, respect, to give it gratitude. Is there something that it needs in exchange? Sometimes it just needs the acknowledgement. Sometimes we find these dead places that we just need to love back into life. And it doesn't matter what that is. It absolutely does not matter. So we're integrating, we're doing self-healing. And the other part I wanted to bring up was about temples. I'm going to be giving a pretty extensive teaching on this coming up. Today is not the day to talk about it. But I want to talk about building temples that we're using in the future. And this is a word that my guides are continuing to use, but I want to use this temple analogy with you in this moment because it really will help you start from a self-healing perspective. So the very, very first underpinning understanding about the temple is you. You're the temple, right? So this is where a sacred space, if we look at temples as sacred spaces, okay? You are the beginning of that sacred space. It all starts in here with you. And today what I want to talk about that is the self-love and the self-care and the rest and the things that you need. It all has to start with loving yourself first. This is not selfish to love oneself, to care for oneself, to give oneself what it needs, to even take the time to discover what that is. Many of us have had a time in life where we just don't know. We're so far out of alignment from our true self that we just don't know who we are, what we like, what we want. What does our dream even look like? So spending time creating this internal temple, treating it well, feeding it with healthy things, doing the things that it needs is really very, 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 very important right now. The reason it's very important, well, there's many, but the reason I want to bring it up today in conjunction with integration, self-healing, and this building the temple of self-care is we've got to start really, really, really doing our work and anchoring what we want and what we desire in the coming future state, in a less chaotic state. So if you guys have heard me say this before, I'm going to reiterate it again. When we want to change something right now, most times we're changing this energy like we just stick ourselves and we anchor it in the next day. Well, it's not going to happen today, but moving forward, I'm taking the step, and so tomorrow is a new day. And yes, that's fine. But when we're dreaming these big things, we anchor in the next day. And if you look around like what's happening right now in 2020, this is a ton of chaotic energy. And it's only getting worse. It's only going to, in the sense of worse, it's only going to amplify. It's only going to speed up. The sands will continue to shift. It's going to become more chaotic right through the end of the year. So you don't want to go anchoring yourself in shifting sand, because what are you anchoring to? So you want to anchor yourself past the shifting sand, right? So start thinking about the beginning of 2021, January, February, March. Anchor in a space that we believe is going to be less chaotic. It's going to be a place you can actually anchor your truth in. It doesn't mean you're waiting that long to manifest something. What it simply means is that it is allowing you to find a more grounded space or less chaotic space to anchor to. which allows that energy to stabilize for you personally. God, that's a whole teaching in and of itself. But really the critical thing is there's so much shifting. It's all continuing to happen. Don't let it freak you out. Deal with what's going on in here. Everybody else is responsible for their own healing. You are not responsible for their healing. You are not responsible to wake other people up. You are not responsible to help them evolve. Unless you are a healer and that is part of your job and you have very strict energetic boundaries and that person is coming to you to be advised on how to heal, it's still their job to do their own healing, okay? Not our job, not our job, not our job, not our job. Stop sticking yourself in somebody else's free will. Worry about yourself, because when you change your internal, the external shifts around you. What happens when the external environment shifts around you? What happens? The people that are part of that external environment are affected, and it begins to change them too. So your only responsibility is right here. And I'm going to end on that with, if you are an energy healer or somebody who works with energy, identifies a light worker, a way shower, one of the labels that you feel comfortable with, the scriptures that you feel comfortable with, aside from knowing it's not our job to heal other people, and stop inserting yourself in that way, is also remember that we have to retain energetic boundaries and that there are ethics with this. If you're at the point where you can engage and work with somebody else's energy, you have a responsibility, an ethical responsibility to not go sticking yourself inside of it. Don't insert yourself in somebody else's energy without their permission. It's not your job to work on them, no matter how badly they appear to be bleeding out in their life energetically. It's not your place to jump in and fix it, is my point. Now, if you've got somebody projecting themselves onto you, you can have that conversation, but again, it's not your job to do it for them. Well, there is the really long tangent. Apparently we caught up on all the things from last week without going deep, believe it or not. But because this video has gotten extremely long, I'm going to say have a great week. Thank you very much if you've stuck around this long, and I'm sure I'll see you another day this week. Bye.